Well, thank you. Both of those presentations were really wonderful and stimulating in terms of the imagination. So I have the honor to be a respondent, to kind of sift through and filter what I heard through my own kind of lens of experience and professional discipline, and offer a couple of thoughts. So the three, I think, key strands that resonated with me, and I'm a planner, an architect, and a Philadelphian, are equity, quality of life, and happiness. So I'll kind of opine on those three strands kind of relative to what I heard for a couple of minutes. I know I've got a little less than 5. So equity. 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to help create a roadmap for Philadelphia to add 500 acres of new park space to the city by 2015, which of course is the year we're in now. It was meant to coincide with the last term of the Nutter administration, and the goal was prescribed by the mayor's kind of Greenworks plan, which was a sustainability plan, the first Philadelphia ever had. And under an equity plank of the sustainability plan was this additional 500 acres. The 500 acres was based on a quantifiable measure that more than 200,000 people did not live within a 10-minute walk of a park or an open space. It was very much about access to open space and was related to public health, as Howard was saying. But there were also issues of mental health, access to clean air, tree canopy. All of these were kind of embedded in that. Coming up with a plan to add 500 acres of park space in a city like Philadelphia during a recession was difficult. We ultimately focused on places and spaces and buildings and areas that the city owned or the public sector owned, like schoolyards or recreation centers, and began to weave together a network of places that could be converted into open spaces that could meet that goal. So one of them was equity. We can talk about whether it was successful or not, but we were clearly trying to match kind of public health needs, equity, and open space. Currently at Drexel, I am now involved in an incredibly interesting project which brings tons of kind of challenges to it. We have 10 acres of land between 30th Street Station, the main rail hub in Philadelphia, and the campus that we are going to be developing with a master developer over the next 20 years, probably adding 10 million square feet of new construction, creating a brand new neighborhood focused on innovation, entrepreneurialism, and by extension, wealth creation. We are also within a federally designated promise zone, which includes the neighborhoods of Mantua, Belmont, and West Powelton, where there's poverty over 50% in those neighborhoods. And we worry a lot and think a lot about how do we connect the wealth creation of the innovation neighborhood, which we will be stimulating, with the needs and challenges of the promise zone, which is literally kind of within our backyard. So these are things we don't have answers for, but we as an institution are very much committed to in terms of trying to figure that out. Is it kind of almost cradle to knowledge economy, kind of education and skills and job training, as my colleague Lucy Kerman likes to talk about? What are the policies and programs we can put into place to make sure that this innovation neighborhood just isn't a playground for the millennials or their successors, but really is a true kind of piece of urbanism that everyone can partake in and participate in. Gentrification, of course, then becomes a major part of that conversation, and how do you have a conversation about gentrification is another thing we're worrying a lot about. Quality of life. What constitutes quality of life? Who makes those decisions? I was on a panel last night at the local chapter of the AIA about electronic billboards. Council member whose district includes East Market Street, which was in its heyday 7 or 8 major department stores. Now it's down to 1 on the eastern side of Center City. A number of years ago, a council person thought, wouldn't it be great if we allowed the billboard companies to come in? We could get lots of money from them. We could create a mini Times Square. It's not so clear that it's necessarily A, a good idea aesthetically, and B, that it really has anything to do with what it's like on the ground and the quality of life that it engenders. There were many people at this forum last night who were complaining about light pollution, who were complaining about a number of different kind of impacts on them psychologically. So it does get down to, in my work, who makes these decisions, how are they made, what's the role of the public, what's the role of the professionals, what's the role of our elected officials in determining the physical environment that we live in. And finally, happiness. As much as I love the current trends about how planning and health and city building are really at the forefront of everybody's kind of thinking about urbanism and cities, I worry a bit about the trap we fell into 50, 60 years ago when after World War II we felt that we could rebuild our cities through physically reshaping them. I think we're doing it now with a much lighter touch, at a much more granular level, at a much more kind of sympathetic and humane kind of sensibility. But again, we can look no further than Market Street here and into the Science Center, which is just west of us, to see the results of urban renewal and sort of the deadening of the urban experience, which wiped out whole neighborhoods. And we are still 50, 60 years later kind of dealing with the reverberations of those kinds of major transformations of cities. I think one of the trends that is positive is almost a grounds-up kind of tactile urbanism, as it's called, or guerrilla kind of pop-ups that you see happening throughout cities. A lot of this, of course, is the younger generations, the millennials and others who are coming back to cities, but they're reclaiming spaces that were abandoned by our rush to urbanism in post-World War II America and around the world in a way that is seemingly authentic. It's not necessarily packaged, it's not marketed. I think we're at the cusp of stopping, because I'm just told to stop. And there we'll go. All right. Amy.